fucked up. I was fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. I was fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. I was fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. I was fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. I was fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. I was fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. I was fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. I was fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. I was fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. Fucked up. When I did that.
To apologize. It's too
When I did it, I was fucked up.
late to apologize.
I was fucked up. When I did it, I was fucked up. I was fucked up. I mean, I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
It's the one and only queen of receipts, the dropping gems in this YouTube street. The lawyer Royce, nowhere to go. Tune in for the infamous morning show, giving the news that you need to know. So don't you dare miss a wake-up call. Then in the evening, I got all for y'all. Get your dose of daily vitamins. You know the queen makes it make sense. So true.
All right, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right, so I hope everyone enjoyed their strong end, because I sure did. All right, so let's get ready to get into it. Now, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Dr_A_Shakur and Twitter or X at DGoddess27. Now, as per usual, if you don't like what the Queen is cooking, you already know what to do. All right, we got All Hell Nah in the house. Jeff ATL, Pearly, that Crazy Beach, Aries, Desmond. All right, above all that drama. Shout out to my moderators putting in work. Nessie X. All right, Claudette, Pearly, Queen Sam. All right, let's get into it. Anita Harrell. Everyone hit that like button. Thank you in advance. And also, please double check to make sure you're still subscribed to the Queen's channel, because they have been unsubscribing people for weeks, okay? I keep telling you all that. All right, the math ain't mathing. All right, Cecilia is in the house. Melanin A1 is here. Where have you been, honey? Okay, let's get into it. My Aunt Egypt. All right. So Vovo to Love is here. All right. So that all been said. Hey, Juju, I see you, beloved. All right, so with that all been said, let's get into these receipts. But before we do, let's have a brief word from my sponsor, okay, at 12 Tribes. Likes up, everyone, please like and share.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribe oils for your hair at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, so now let's get into it, honey, because you all remember, I'm sure, there was a lawsuit filed against Diddy back in, I believe it was October, all right, October of 2024 by Ashley Parham, who is a client of Ariel Mitchell Kidd, okay, the shady attorney that I have always spoken against. Now, in this lawsuit, which has been amended as of just a day or so ago, she now has added Odell Beckham Jr., Druski, and Jaguar Wright. Okay. Now, some people are saying that it's already been debunked that Jaguar couldn't have been involved because she was in jail at the time. Odell Beckham has come out and responded to the reports, naming him in the Sean Diddy Combs assault lawsuit, saying that he's fully confident. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's get into it, honey. This is all nefarious, and you can rest assured that if Ariel Mitchell Kidd is behind this lawsuit, and she is, that it's probably just bogus. Okay, I don't believe anything that woman says, and there has not been a client of hers yet that has been credible that I have researched. Okay, not one. Now, I don't know all of her clients, but for the ones that I've researched, they have not had credible stories, in my opinion. Okay, so let's get into it. Reports surfaced on Sunday claiming that NFL wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. had been named as a defendant in an amended lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs. For those of you who have been sleeping under a rock and don't know who Odell is, that's him right there. Okay, but anyway, it goes on to say, the lawsuit filed by Ashley Parham accuses Diddy and others of sexual assault. Content creator Druski was also reported to be named in the case. So my question would be, first of all, why didn't she name these people in the beginning when she initially filed the lawsuit? Okay. So anyway, both Beckham and Druski have strongly denied the allegations as per Essentially Sports. Now, other reports circulated online. Odell Beckham Jr. responded to the claims in a reply to Druski's statement on X, formerly known as Twitter. He wrote saying, "Boy, I'll tell you what, this world makes absolutely no sense. I am covered by God. He will prevail. I know who I am. I know who you are. Keep your head up." Now, that name will be cleared. Ish is stupid. So Druski also denied the allegation, stating that he was not involved in the entertainment industry at the time of the alleged incident. He wrote saying, "This allegation is a fabricated lie. I wasn't even a public figure in 2018. I was broke, living with my mom without any connections to the entertainment industry at the time of this allegation. So the inclusion of my name is truly outlandish." Now, Ashley Parham's lawsuit is part of a broader case involving multiple allegations against Sean Diddy Combs. I mean, just throwing people's names against the wall to see what sticks. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. But let me continue. Now, she claims that she was allegedly assaulted after making a comment suggesting that Diddy might have been involved in Tupac Shakur's murder. According to her lawsuit, she was lured to a location where she was confronted by Diddy and others involved who allegedly assaulted her. Now, reports of Beckham and Druski's alleged involvement surfaced through documents that appear to be official. However, there has been no confirmation from courts or attorneys regarding their inclusion in the case. Some social media users have questioned the validity of the claims, calling them fake. Well, they probably are fake or fictitious. And with that all been said, that's why we're going to go through the amended portion of the lawsuit. Not the whole thing, because it's like 87 pages, but we're going to go through the amended portion of it. Okay, and so with that all been said, the lawsuit has drawn significant attention, with many people discussing the credibility of the actions. Beckham and Druski's firm denials have added to the debate. Meanwhile, their firm denials have added to the debate. Meanwhile, there has been no official statement from Diddy regarding the new claims. You know, this is making it good for Diddy. I'm telling y'all right now, anytime these foolish stories come out that sound like they're concocted or whatever, or there seems to be something that can prove that it's all a lie, I want you all to think about it, because just last week, I told you all about a new Diddy lawsuit where the accuser said that Diddy told her that he can do whatever he wants because he's got the keys to the city. Now, she alleges that the incident occurred in 2006. If the incident occurred in 2006, why would Diddy have mentioned to her that he had the keys to the city? Because Diddy only received those keys to the city in New York in September of 2023. Okay, that's the fact. Okay, so why would he have told her that in 2006? And also, he did also receive a key to the city, or the keys to the city, in Miami. But that was in 2015. Again, he wouldn't have had either of those keys to the city at the time. So clearly, something about that story doesn't ring true, is all I'm saying. Okay, so a lot of these lies coming out to surface. But let's get into these docs. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance, honey, because the lies just keep on flowing. They're going to mess around, and Diddy's going to walk right up out of there, okay, come May the 5th. All right? Diddy's going to waltz right up out of there. All these people just making up stories and saying dumb stuff. It's just like really so annoying. All for clout. And Ariel Mitchell Kidd, she needs to be disbarred, in my opinion, because how many frivolous lawsuits has she in fact filed? Okay, with these non-credible clients, in my opinion. Now, as you can see, Ashley Parham, Jane Doe, and John Doe amended complaint. Okay, and then it lists Sean Diddy Combs, aka Diddy, Pete, Puff Daddy, all his aliases, Christina Coram, Shane Pierce, Ruben Valdez, John Petletier, Odell Beckham Jr., Drew Desbordes, aka Druski, Jaguar Wright, aka Jaguar Wright, Helena Harris Scott, Mateus Gonzalez, Brandy Cunningham, Janice Combs, Keith Lux, aka Big Homie C, and John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10. So she's added all these different people, because I don't recall Janice Combs being on here either at first, and definitely not Big Homie CC. So she's named a myriad of new people on here. So let's talk about it. Now, this is what she alleges as follows. This case involves RICO Enterprise for the purpose of sexual assault, battery, rape, abuse, false imprisonment, and kidnapping for the personal and financial benefit to the enterprise participants. Defendant Diddy has been sued by countless individuals for crimes similar to ones enumerated in this complaint. Defendant Diddy is currently a federal inmate awaiting criminal trial for crimes similar to the ones enumerated in this complaint. Defendant KK, that would be Christina Coram, his chief of staff, is an employee of Defendant Diddy, often referred to by Defendant Diddy as his right-hand woman. Defendant Diddy's predatory behavior was constant and was well known by several individuals, including Defendant Diddy's employees, staff, friends, family, and associates. In fact, Diddy's sons are being sued for engaging in the same type of deviant behavior as their father has pled guilty, as pled in Los Angeles Superior Court filing. I almost said pled guilty. I wish he would, but we know that's not going to happen. Okay, Roberta says, I think all of it is planned to get Diddy's case dismissed because of the inability to get a fair trial. Oh, it is going to get dismissed, honey. At the very least, he's going to get off on a technicality. You're right. There's no way Diddy can get a fair trial at this point, as far as I'm concerned. I don't see how in the world he is going to get a fair trial. With all of these people telling these salacious stories and lots of it being lies and BS, I don't see how. The jury pool is permanently tainted, as far as I'm concerned. Aubrey Allen says, I'm not believing none of these lawsuits. Yeah, sounds like a whole bunch of them are lying. Okay. So anyway, let's continue. It goes on to say, Defendant Diddy was able to effectuate his crimes and evade capture and prosecution for his crimes for almost 30 years due to his position of power and influence in the entertainment industry. Defendant Diddy exploited his position and his relationship with powerful individuals to force sexual acts through exploitation, fear, manipulation, physical threats, emotional abuse, intimidation, and retaliation. Had any of the previous victims of Defendant Diddy been taken seriously, or had any of the abettors, that means the people that aided and abetted, reported Defendant Diddy's actions to law enforcement, Defendant Diddy's legal and unfathomable behavior could have been prevented. Well, all of this could have been prevented if they'd have locked him up for putting out a hit on Tupac. That's if he did it, but I believe he did. But let's continue. Instead, Defendant Diddy was able to rain his abuse and terrorism on countless victims for over 30 years. Additionally, had defendant Diddy's numerous business partners and associates not ignored defendant Diddy's deviant behavior, defendant Diddy would have been unable to continue his pattern of abuse over such a long period of time. As alleged herein, defendant Diddy abused his position of power in the entertainment industry to garner loyalty and trust from the public at large and law enforcement while instilling fear and intimidation in the hearts of his voluminous victims. Okay, allegations against defendant Diddy have been discarded for decades, therefore creating a failure to protect victims, like the plaintiffs named herein. Unlike most victims of Diddy, who were employees, ex-workers, or individuals seeking out defendant to help launch their careers, Plaintiff Parham does not fall into any of those categories. Plaintiff Parham met defendant Diddy due to an happenstance and still ended up being brutally victimized in a similar manner as described by the others who have preceded her filing and others who surely will follow, including Plaintiff Doe's herein. Okay, so that all being said, someone said Diddy's guilty of labor trafficking. At this point, welfare office, beloved, at this point, we don't even know if he's guilty of that. These people just saying so much stuff, honey. Okay. Now, plaintiffs John and Jane Doe met with defendant Diddy through their connections in the music industry, as plaintiff John Doe was a previous plaintiff against Michael Jackson for assault as a minor. Okay, so another liar. Okay, due to defendant's agreement to participate in a corrupt enterprise, plaintiffs and countless other victims have been immeasurably and permanently harmed. Plaintiffs allege as follows: upon personal knowledge as to themselves and their own acts and experience, and as to all other matters upon information and belief, including investigations conducted by their attorneys. Now, plaintiff Ashley Parham is an individual who resides in and is domiciled in California. Plaintiff John Doe is an individual who is domiciled in Nevada and resides in another state purposefully to protect his safety and identity. Plaintiff Jane Doe is an individual who is domiciled in Nevada and resides in another state purposefully to protect her safety and identity. Now, defendant Sean Combs, defendant Diddy, is an individual who resides in and is domiciled in California. Defendant also owns a residence in Florida. However, defendant Diddy is currently an inmate at MDC in Brooklyn, New York. Defendant Christina Coram is an individual who, upon information and belief, resides in and is domiciled in either California or North Carolina. Defendant Shane Pierce, defendant Shane is an individual who resides in and is domiciled in California. I can guarantee you he's already talking to the feds. Okay, if not, he will be soon. All right, my opinion. Defendant Ruben Lira Valdez is an individual who resides in and is domiciled in California. Defendant John Lawrence, and I'm not saying that the person that's likely talking to the feds, Mr. Pierce, I'm not saying that because of this lawsuit filing, because this is likely just some BS coming from Ariel Mitchell, in my opinion, but I'm talking about as it pertains to Diddy's criminal case. Okay, if he's one of those people who may have been a co-conspirator or something like that, clearly they've already snitched on Diddy. Now, defendant John Lawrence Peltier, defendant Peltier, is an individual who resides in and is domiciled in Nevada or Hawaii. They don't even know where these people are, in Hawaii or, Nevada. Okay. Defendant Odell Beckham, defendant Odell, is an individual who resides in and is domiciled in Florida, previously referred to as John Doe in Plaintiff Parham's original complaint. Defendant Drew Desbordes, defendant Druski, is an individual who, upon information and belief, resides in and is domiciled in either Maryland or Georgia, previously referred to as John Doe in Plaintiff Parham's original complaint. So these people were in the original complaint, but were listed as John Does. Okay, that's interesting. Now, I mean, there's been so many lawsuits, I can't remember each of them individually until I pull them up. And so I clearly do not remember that tidbit of information, that they had several John Does. Now, defendant Jaguar Wright, defendant Jaguar, is an individual who, upon information and belief, resides in and is domiciled in California or Nevada. Defendant Helena Harris Scott, defendant Helena, is an individual who, upon information and belief, resides in and is domiciled in California. Now, defendant Mateus Gonzalez, defendant Gonzalez is an individual who, upon information and belief, resides in and is domiciled in Nevada. Defendant Brandy Cunningham, defendant Brandy, is an individual who, upon information and belief, resides in and is domiciled in Arkansas, previously referred to as Jane Doe in Plaintiff Parham's original complaint. Okay. Defendant Janice Combs. Defendant Janice is an individual who resides and is domiciled in Florida. Defendant Keith Lux, defendant Big Homie CC, is an individual who, upon information believed, resides and is domiciled in Nevada. So defendant John and Jane Does 1 through 10 are individuals who, upon information believed, reside in and are domiciled in various states, but mainly California. So this court has federal question under jurisdiction. Okay, we're going to skip past this. We're going to skip past this. Let's go down to, okay, this action is also timely under California's Sexual Abuse and Cover-Up Accountability Act. California's Sexual Abuse and Cover-Up Accountability Act. Okay, when the perpetrator is someone of victim trust, it can take years for the victim even to identify what happened to them as an sexual assault. For these reasons, it is self-evident that the unique nature of the emotional and psychological consequences of sexual assault, especially on women, can paradoxically permit wrongdoers to escape civil 26 accountability unless statutes of limitation are crafted to prevent this injustice from occurring. Now, for these reasons, moreover, when these data are combined with widespread news reports of major companies being accused of covering up sexual assaults by their employees, it is self-evident that statutes of limitation for sexual assault need to be crafted in a way that does not cause the covering up company to enjoy the fruits of their cover-up solely because our statutes of limitation permit and thus motivate such behavior. Defendant's fraudulent concealment through active attempts of cover-up based on or cause the ongoing trauma plaintiffs suffer. Plaintiff Parham has repressed her experience until recently when defendant Diddy was accused by his ex-girlfriend, former employee Cassie Ventura, and others regarding their experience with defendant Diddy. Assessing the civil justice system allows victims, survivors, an opportunity to seek accountability for the years of suffering caused by the abuse they experienced, and a chance to take back the power they lost as a result of the sexual assault. Okay, I'm going to skip past some of this. Okay, now remember, this is a young lady who was out with a guy who claimed he knew Diddy. He was clearly clout chasing, in my opinion. He went so far as to call Diddy on FaceTime to let her see and speak to Diddy. She told Diddy she wasn't impressed and basically said that she felt like he had something to do with the murder of Tupac. Okay, so then she claimed that she was basically lured to a party at the guy's house, the guy that she was friends with or whatever, so Diddy could have things done to her. This is the woman who says they put a remote control of her privates, okay? She says that they used a remote control. They were trying to put an IUD up there. It didn't work or something. It didn't operate efficiently. Okay, skipping past all of this stuff because we've already heard all of this. I'm trying to get to the part where, here it is right here, where they start naming the new people. Okay, defendant Diddy then instructed another defendant Doe to also grape plaintiff. Defendant Doe has been determined to be defendant Druski. Instead of immediately graping plaintiff, defendant Druski doused plaintiff with more oil lubricant and then jumped on top of plaintiff's naked and oiled body, treating it like a slip and slide and knocking the wind out of plaintiff due to his enormous size. Do y'all hear this, honey? They said Druski is enormous. Did y'all hear this? Y'all heard what they said? Said he put some more oil and lube on her and then jumped on plaintiff, knocking the wind out of her due to his enormous size. Y'all. Anyway, let me keep going because this is all crazy. Anyway, defendant Druski then caught himself from sliding over plaintiff's oiled body and off the bed. He then began graping plaintiff from the front. While defendant Druski was graping plaintiff, defendant Diddy sat in a chair near the bed and began jerking his chicken or pleasuring himself, recording plaintiff's grape by defendant Druski. Another party's phone fell on the bed near plaintiff. Plaintiff then attempted to grab the phone, but it slipped out of her hands and onto the floor due to the oil lubricant that had been doused all over her person by defendants Diddy and Druski. So she grabbed the phone. She was going to make a call while they were right there in the midst of it, and they weren't going to see or hear her. Okay, ma'am. Defendant Diddy began laughing at plaintiff's attempt to grab the phone. Throughout this violent gang rape, defendant Diddy made constant belittling remarks to plaintiff, including that he owned her now. Who is Diddy, the slave master? At some point during this ordeal, plaintiff remembers defendants referring to another defendant as Cornelius. I remembered the name because it was so odd and unique. Cornelius is an odd name? Okay. Plaintiff has come to discover the defendant, Doe Cornelius, who raped her, was defendant Odell. So she didn't know who Odell Beckham was in 2018. Let me continue. Plaintiff's body was becoming more and more limp over the course of the violent rape until eventually she had no control over her body, nor could she move her body. When defendant Druski finished raping plaintiff, defendant KK entered the room to examine the condition of plaintiff, who was barely able to move or control her bodily functions. Defendant KK examined plaintiff to see if she needed assistance and was about to give plaintiff an IV fluid. Plaintiff cannot be certain if she did or did not receive such intravenous intervention. Defendant KK then opened a different bag, different than the one defendant Diddy removed the oil from, where plaintiff observed several medicine bottles, okay, IV fluid bags, and other unidentifiable powder-like substances. Defendant KK then removed a pill from one of the medicine bags and gave it to defendant Diddy. Defendant Diddy then inserted the pill into plaintiff's mouth and down her throat to where plaintiff had no choice but to ingest the unknown pill. Defendants Diddy, Shane, KK, Odell, and Druski then exited the residence to the backyard where they smoked Mary Jane and cigarettes. Plaintiff remained in an almost lifeless state in defendant Shane's bedroom until she finally regained her bodily functions. Plaintiff then began looking for her clothes and her purse that contained her car keys and cell phone, but could not discover them in the room or anywhere in the apartment. Plaintiff was only able to find a t-shirt on the floor, which she put on to cover her naked body. Plaintiff also observed a black condom wrapper on the floor of the bedroom. It's all nefarious. All right, so anyway, let me continue. Hold on, guys. I feel like I'm about to sneeze. Okay. Defendant then found a knife with the assistance of the Joe plaintiffs and headed to the backyard where the defendants were smoking, as that was the only way to exit the premises onto the street. Plaintiff concealed the knife on her left side as she exited the apartment to the backyard area. Upon coming to the exit of the home, which led to the backyard, plaintiff was met by defendant Big Homie CC, who was standing at the door between the residence and the backyard. By the time plaintiff was able to compose herself and come to the backyard, defendant KK was no longer in the backyard, but upstairs on the patio balcony with defendant Brandy. Defendant Doe allowed plaintiff to walk to the backyard where defendants were still smoking. Defendant Doe did not see the knife that plaintiff concealed on her side, as it was obstructed by the oversized t-shirt plaintiff was wearing. Now, plaintiff observed defendant Diddy still partially nude from the assault, while the other defendants had on their clothing. So they're standing outside in the backyard. Diddy's half naked out there smoking Mary Jane. Are y'all hearing this? And these people are standing out there with him smoking while he's half naked outside in the backyard. Do y'all hear this? Do you all hear this? And if so, what say you? Okay. And if so, what say you? Do you all hear this? This sounds like a bunch of total BS. All right, please pay attention. Miss AP said unbelievable. Yes, it is absolutely egregious, honey. And then I told y'all already, they said Jag was in jail when this happened. So how did her name even get involved in it, honey? These people are a hot mess, but let's keep going. So anyway, Diddy, just imagine Diddy standing outside half nude. Okay, what part was uncovered? The bottom? Because if it was the top, they wouldn't likely have said half nude. So you mean Diddy was standing there with butt out and cucumber smoking with everybody like it's all gravy in the backyard? Yeah, okay. I believe you, Ariel Mitchell kid. Okay, not. Anyway, plaintiff then sat down on a makeshift seat in the backyard when defendant Diddy noticed her presence and remarked that he was surprised she was able to walk because he had given her enough rugs with a D to take out a horse. First of all, who talks like that? Now, I want you all to think about this here. This is all so darn crazy. Lord have mercy on me. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. So imagine for a second, if you will, somebody just got graped. Okay. Other people graped them. It was like multiple people. Even another woman was there helping and all of this. Then you're passed out. You come to and regain your senses and you walk outside and you see the goons, okay, who just did this to you, standing out there enjoying themselves, smoking. Mary J, no less. One of them is half naked, and yet you sit down quietly alongside them like Little Miss Muffet on her tuppence. And you sit there and you just are sitting there quietly. And then Diddy turns to you and says, oh, damn, I'm surprised you're still walking because I gave your ace enough rugs to take out a damn horse. How the hell did you get here? Are y'all serious? Are y'all serious? Are y'all serious? See, this is what we're supposed to believe. This is what we're supposed Sharon said Lamisha wrote it. Aubrey said, I'm on the floor. Honey, I would be too if I wasn't sitting here on this live. Okay. Sharon said, sounds exactly like her bogus claims. Yes, it does. This is all, sir. DJ Big Six said it's a movie script. Okay, coming to Tubi soon. But let's keep going because the lies are outlandish, no less. Anyway, goes on to say, Diddy noticed her presence and then remarked that he was surprised she was able to walk because he'd given her enough rugs to take out a horse. Plaintiff then asked defendant Diddy what he gave her, and he laughed and did not provide a response. Now, here is what I want y'all to picture. Here's what I want y'all to picture, okay? This is it. This is it. TC Dad said, get on that floor, Queen. Queen Sam said, Lord, Queen, not Tubi. Yes. G from Land said, this is also nefarious. You know it is. Tupac and Shakur said, who's paying Ariel Mitchell for this mess? She is despicable. Diddy's paying her, beloved. I absolutely believe that Diddy is paying her at this point because this is all crazy as hell. Now picture it. These people did all this to you and you're just going to go sit your ass right next to them while they're enjoying Mary Jane and talk to them in a regular conversation. That's what you're going to do, Miss Parham. I don't believe you. After the man then tells you that he gave you enough to take out a horse, then you're going to ask him what he gave you, and he laughed and did not provide a response. Oh, so by the way, what did you give me? What did you give me? Girl, if that had been me and this was a true story, because this is clearly fabricated, okay? This is all fictitious. I'm sorry. This sounds like just like something so ridiculous, okay? Thank you, Sophia Martinez, for becoming a member, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings to you. This sounds so darn crazy. Now, if this were a true story and something like this happened to me, if I made it outside, I would have ran. Whether they saw me running or not, I'd have been trying to get the hell up out of there. I would have run like the wind, screaming, help, somebody help, call the police. Nobody's going to sit there and talk to them. So what did you give me? Hey, can I hit that too? I mean, girl, this all sounds crazy, okay? But let's keep going. Because I'm waiting to see how she puts Jaguar's name in here. This all sounds crazy as hell, honey. Anyway, goes on to say, defendant Diddy then made further comments to plaintiff in a jovial, friendly manner, asking her why they hadn't partied together before because it was so much fun and he hadn't had any ASS that tight in a while. Who says that to somebody you just gained, okay, banged? Come on. Now he's having a casual conversation in a jovial, friendly manner. Nobody was concerned or worried that she might go to the police. Nobody was worried that the neighbors or somebody driving past might see Diddy out there with his ace out smoking trees. Defendant Big Homie CC then quipped at Diddy, defendant Diddy, that he probably hadn't had any ASS that tight because he's not used to having backdoor sex with women, which defendants Diddy and Doe laughed at. What? Lord help us all. This sounds so damn crazy, y'all. I don't even know if I want to read this foolishness. This is all crazy. Metro Man said, people say anything. However, this will shine a real light on Jag and it won't be pretty. And she will have to come out of hiding. No way he will get a fair trial. Thank you for your insight to the topic, beloved, and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Well, you know, as it pertains to Jag, they have said, I saw several people talking about this story yesterday. They said that Jag's friends said that she was in jail. They said Jag was locked up. Now, Sean David Wade said she was locked up, but not the whole time or the whole year or something or whatever. But honey, let me tell you something. With Ariel Mitchell Kidd being involved in the filing of this lawsuit, I don't believe a word of it. I do not believe a word of it. Okay? But let's keep going. Now, all of a sudden, she's adding Big Homie CC to the mix. Okay, Odell Beckham, like, this is all crazy. None of this was in here at first. Okay, so anyway, goes on to say, plaintiff then told defendant Diddy she did not party with him and she did not enjoy partying with him and that he raped her. Defendant Diddy did not like plaintiff's response to his lighthearted commentary and offered plaintiff money and instructed plaintiffs to say that the violent rape was consensual and the plaintiff was an S worker. Oh no, just tell everybody, here's $1,500 cash. Look, just tell everybody it was consensual and that you're a prostitute. What? That doesn't even sound right either. Because even if you were going to say it was consensual, if you were going to go through with a lie, why would he tell you to say you're a prostitute? This is all crazy. I absolutely cannot. Metro Man, thank you for your contribution to the channel, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, let me continue. Defendant Diddy then told plaintiff no one would ever believe she had been raped by him, and if she did tell anyone such that they would harm her family. Well, if he was going to do all of that, why would he offer her money not to tell? Defendant Big Homie CC then showed plaintiff his phone, which looked as if it was the outside of plaintiff's estranged sister's residence, as she could see her sister sitting on the couch and her sister's spouse on the balcony. It looked as if someone was outside the residence streaming this video to defendant Big Homie CC's phone. So she saw all of that on his phone. He must have showed her a video. Okay, this all sounds crazy. But anyway, plaintiff then rattled by what she was seeing on defendant Big Homie CC's phone, was still angry about being gang raped and was not complying with defendant Diddy's request to take the money being offered to say the rape was consensual. Defendant Diddy then called defendant Janice in an effort to further convince plaintiff not to report this assault. Let me tell y'all why this is crazy. Let me tell y'all why this is crazy. Okay, you see, if this had happened to me, now, of course, everybody doesn't react the same. But in my opinion, if you're somebody who's been attacked viciously, like she claims, with all these multiple people there witnessing and not one of them trying to help you, in fact, all of them aiding the people who were doing this, and they're offering you money not to say anything, why wouldn't you just agree just for the sake of agreeing so you can get the hell out of there? Because I would fear for my life. I would at that point be afraid for my life that if I don't lie and tell them what they in fact want to hear, that they might murk me. They've already gang raped me. Why would they let me leave here to tell the story? Why would you not take the money? If they'd offered, if this was real, and because I don't believe a word of it, I'm sorry, I don't. But if this was a real scenario and someone offered you money and multiple people are there, I would think that the person would take the money and say, okay, thank you, and just leave, and then go to the nearest police department and say, this is what happened. And I only took the money so I could get out of there safely. I didn't want to, I was in fear for my life, because that's what you likely would be in. If people are low down and dirty enough to do what she's alleging that they did, you can't put anything past them. Okay, so why? But I want you all to remember something. I want you all to remember who was the first person who told you that Ariel Mitchell Kidd was a lying, unethical attorney and that she was Shady Boots. I told you all that last year. I want y'all to pay attention. You heard it here first. That's a fact. Okay, I knew this lady was full of BS and probably working for Diddy, in my opinion. Now, anyway, it goes on to say, defendant Diddy then called Janice in an effort to further convince plaintiff. Now, I do remember that. I do remember them saying that they called Janice Combs, okay, to get her to try to convince the plaintiff not to report the assault. Defendant Janice yelled at plaintiff to not hurt her son. Plaintiff told defendant Janice that her son had violently raped plaintiff. Defendant Janice, seemingly unfazed by the statement, then continued her demands with plaintiff to take the money being offered and not to report the rape to law enforcement. Honey, I would have taken that money so quick. And as soon as I got there, I'd have been straight at the police department. And I would have, and just to prove that they did these things, she should have gotten tested at the hospital, a great test. Okay, she could have had the police extract fingerprints from the money that they gave her. Like, this all is not making sense to me. Measure Man says she got this from interviews that Big Homie Cookie Crumb and Jag did. That's what they get for lying and was on the same platform eluding. They were at the same party. Oh, is that what happened? Robert Douglas said, why do they keep unsubscribing me? Beloved, because that's how YouTube does, honey. They be hating on the queen. That's why I keep telling you guys, make sure on a daily that you're still subscribed, especially if you're not receiving notifications, because I tend to go live every day. Okay, I think I took a day off last week, but that was the first time I've taken a day off in years. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention, okay, on a Monday through Friday. Now, with that all being said, and thank you for resubscribing, beloved. With that all being said, so you mean to tell me that they mentioned something about this specific incident in an interview? I was already thinking that's probably why. TC Dan said, not in years, Queen. Yes, I'm serious. As it pertains to going live Monday through Friday, I haven't taken a day off in years until last week. Y'all better recognize, honey, and give the queen her due. All right. But thank you, Measure Man, for your insight into the topic, beloved, and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Here's one thing I will say. I was thinking that she probably threw Jaguar Wright's name in here and Big Homie CC because they have been doing interviews. Okay. Just thinking, oh, yeah, now I can just put them on the scene. Now, why she decided to throw Odell and Druski up in here, I don't know. But let's continue, because this is all a bunch of BS as far as I'm concerned. Now, Defendant Diddy then made further threats that he had gotten off from bigger crimes than this and referred to Tupac again, further antagonizing plaintiff. Defendant Big Homie CC then turned to defendant Diddy and pulled his gun on him, asking him to repeat what he said in reference to Tupac. As the two of them were exchanging words, plaintiff went behind defendant Diddy, or behind defendant Big Homie CC, where he seemingly began to protect plaintiff. So now all of a sudden he's on plaintiff's side after he just saw plaintiff get gang raped. Now he's on her side. Now he wants to save her. Okay. As the two of them were exchanging words, plaintiff went behind defendant Big Homie CC, where he seemingly began to protect plaintiff. Defendant Big Homie CC then advanced to defendant Diddy, questioning him over the comments he made about Tupac. During this commotion, a neighbor directly across the street came outside and peered into the backyard and asked what all the commotion was. Hey, what's all that commotion about? Yeah, okay. And right, then defendant Big Homie CC then pointed the gun at the neighbor and instructed him to mind his business and return to his residence. So he didn't think that by pointing a gun at this person and telling them to mind their business and go back in the house, that they might just go back in the house and call 911. He didn't think about that. And y'all got a person over here who's just been gang raped and rugged with a D. But y'all gonna tell somebody to go back in the house, point a gun at them, and tell them to shut the hell up, mind their business. And you don't think they might go in there and call 911. And then the police show up and find out what y'all did. Okay, but let's continue. Defendant Big Homie CC then turned the gun back on defendant Diddy. So this is all playing out like a movie. Like, this sounds like a scene from Godfather. This sounds like a scene from a movie script. Are y'all listening to the foolishness? So big homie CC, I just want you all to picture everything, visualize everything as I'm saying this to you, okay? So here we have a woman who's claiming she was brutally gang assaulted. Then you have the people who assaulted her outside of the backyard, one of them half naked from the bottom down. And I'm going to say the bottom down because she said Diddy was half naked. Now, I doubt she would be saying that if his shirt was off. Okay, and we know Diddy's zesty, so Diddy probably had them cheeks out. But anyway, smoking Mary Jane. One of them said something about Tupac after they had a friendly conversation with her. Because remember, she said it was jovial. Trump is our daddy said, you are very good. Thank you, beloved. It said it was a jovial conversation. So he's having a calm, cool conversation with her, offered her money to not talk about it. She denies it. He calls his mom. The mom gets on the phone with, first of all, why are you on the phone with his mother? Why are you talking to these people, period? When the neighbor came outside, first of all, you should have already been in the neighbor's house. You should have ran as soon as you got outside. Okay? But anyway, Queen Sal said, I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. Okay? This is all egregious. But anyway, let's keep listening to the lies. So goes on to say, because that's just all this is to me. I don't believe a word of it. Now, goes on to say, and then, hold on, and then picture big homie CC standing there with Diddy, smoking trees, and all of a sudden, Diddy says something about Tupac. And now he wants to point the gun at Diddy and talk trash. And then a neighbor comes out and said, hey, what's all the commotion? Now he turns around, points the gun at the neighbor. Get back in your house. Mind your own damn business. This ain't what you want. And then now the gun's back on Diddy. This is all from a movie, you guys. Okay, this is all definitely scripted. But let's keep going. Defendant Big Homie CC then turned the gun back on Defendant Diddy. Plaintiff not far behind Defendant Big Homie CC tried to grab Defendant Big Homie CC's hand that had the gun. Why would you do that? The gun then went off and hit a hill behind Defendant Shane's residence. How did she know what it hit? Specifically, if it was a hill. Defendant Diddy then ran up the back stone stairs near the hill in the backyard towards where defendants KK, Shane, and Brandy were. Plaintiff charged towards defendant Diddy, moving the concealed knife from her left hand to her right hand and in pursuit of defendant Diddy. So she chased it. So she gave chase. Are y'all hearing this? She charged towards defendant Diddy. Now all of a sudden she's tough as nails. She was just viciously assaulted, given rugs to where she couldn't control her own body, comes out there, sits down, talking nice and sweet to them, not like, oh, y'all just raped me and going off screaming, crying, at just belligerent. No, talking calmly. What'd you give me? You raped me. Oh, here's some money. Just don't say anything. Just say it was consensual and tell everybody you're a prostitute and we paid you. What? Now, all of a sudden, Diddy's in flight from somebody with a gun, and she's going to chase Diddy with her knife. Am I being punked? Am I being punked right now? Oh, my goodness. But let's continue. I want you all to picture every bit of this as I'm saying it. Plaintiff then pushed defendant Diddy from behind while on the stone stairs outside, causing him to fall with his back to plaintiff. Plaintiff then raised the knife in a rage from the events that had just transpired and with the intent of driving the knife into Diddy's neck or his back. Then he turned around and began pleading for his life. Now Diddy's begging and pleading, please, ma'am, please don't kill me. I'll give you more money, ma'am. Please don't do it. This is getting more and more far-fetched as I go on. Plaintiff, shocked now to see defendant Diddy acting as a victim, had a moment of clarity and then turned and ran down the outdoor stone staircase back out to the backyard to escape. So now she wants to escape all of a sudden? Why didn't she try and escape while big homie CC had the gun trained on Diddy? Why didn't she take that as her opportunity to run for it rather than chasing Diddy? Do you see how this is bullshit? Do you see how this makes not one piece of sense? Gospel Grace said that voice is nefarious, Queen. Queen Sam says, I declare for Lord, this bedtime story is way too much for me. It was so done, but let's keep going. So anyway, goes on to say, defendant Diddy then chased plaintiff down the stairs. Now, mind you, he was just fleeing her because she had that big knife and all. But now he's the one. He was just begging for his life, pleading on his knees. Okay, I imagine she didn't say he was on his knees, but that's how I picture someone begging and pleading. But now it's he who's giving chase. See how the tables have turned? So he chased plaintiff down the stairs and attempted to push her, but she was already at the bottom of the stairs and gained her footing and wielded the knife at defendant Diddy, grazing his abdomen. Hearing the commotion, defendants KK and Brandy emerged, and defendant KK then began administering first aid to defendant Diddy for the injuries caused by the plaintiff. So she stood there and watched this carry out. So she grazed Diddy with a knife. Now I want y'all to stay with me. So she grazed Diddy with a knife, but she waits while KK comes with a first aid kit. How long did that take? Because where did the first aid kit come from? She had to have gone back in the house to have gotten it, or she had to have gone and retrieved it from a vehicle or somewhere. I'm sure she didn't have it sitting out there in the backyard while they smoked their trees, did she? So KK goes and gets a first aid kit, comes back and starts to dress Diddy's wounds. And she's standing there this whole time, not running and screaming. What about the neighbor that came outside? She didn't run to them right away? So anyway, KK then began administering first aid to defendant Diddy for the injuries caused by the plaintiff. Plaintiff tried to make a quick dash for the exit, but it was thwarted by another defendant Doe. After a period of time, plaintiff was able to abscond from defendant Doe due to the first aid commotion with defendant Diddy and was able to run down the street. Oh, now she gets to run. After they done waited for somebody to go get a whole first aid kit, come back and start dressing a wound. Now you run? Once plaintiff made it to the street, she began yelling loudly for someone to call the police. Now you want to scream for help. Defendant Doe, who had now caught up with plaintiff, advised plaintiff that he was an undercover cop. To this day, plaintiff is unsure of the truth or falsity of the statement. Well, I'm pretty sure of her falsity of this statement, of these statements. Okay, I think they're all bogus. Of course, that's my opinion. Now, the same neighbor then again emerged from his residence asking what was transpiring. Just as plaintiff was attempting to answer, gunshots began being fired in plaintiff's direction. Plaintiff fled to a car near where the neighbor was also taking cover and lost sight of Jane Doe. So the neighbor was taking cover rather than going in the house and minding his business like Big Homie CC told him to, especially when he came out there and saw that somebody had a gun and the gun was pointed at him. You mean to tell me the neighbor was still on his damn porch? He still hadn't taken his behind back in the house. But now he's standing out there on the porch. Somebody literally just pointed a gun. You see them turn around and point at somebody else. You see somebody chasing somebody with a knife. Please pay attention. You see somebody chasing somebody down the street with a knife. You see the person now chasing the one who had the knife. And now you hear gunshots. Now you want to duck. You all know this is crazy as hell. Okay. Plaintiff fled to a car near where the neighbor was also taking cover and lost sight of defendant Doe. Plaintiff then heard an SUV screeching and the speeding, leaving the residence. Plaintiff then entered the home of the neighbor, who informed her that he had already called the police. Plaintiff informed the neighbor that it was Sean Combs who had raped her and shot at them, but the neighbor was unaware who defendant Diddy was. So in 2018, nobody knew who the hell Diddy was. The neighbor didn't know who Diddy was in 2018. Okay. Shortly thereafter, a sheriff from the Contra Costa Sheriff's Department arrived at the neighbor's home. Plaintiff identified the person who arrived at the neighbor's home posing as a Contra Costa sheriff was defendant Pelletier. Plaintiff told defendant Pelletier, believing he was a sheriff from the local police, she had been violently gang raped by defendant Diddy and others, and that she did not have her clothes, phone, purse, or car keys or cell phone. Defendant Pelletier, falsely posing as a Contra Costa sheriff, told plaintiff and the neighbor that they had received several noise complaints prior to the neighbor's call and instructed plaintiff to find a way to get home. The sheriff, defendant Pelletier, did not offer to take plaintiff home, nor did he call for emergency services, including an ambulance, nor any offer to take plaintiff to the hospital, nor any offer to help plaintiff recover her clothes or effects from defendant Shane's residence. So only the police came and not an ambulance. The Contra Costa sheriffs have confirmed that a police report was made that night by plaintiff Parham. The Contra Costa sheriffs have refused to release any information related to the complaint on the night in question to any source, despite numerous attempts made via Freedom of Information Act. Plaintiff observed defendant Pelletier had something or handed something to the neighbor, what looked to be an envelope, at the door as defendant Pelletier exited. The neighbor went to a nearby room and quickly returned empty-handed. Plaintiff believes the envelope contained cash. So the sheriff paid off the neighbor. So the officer paid off the neighbor. That's what we're supposed to think. She said she believed the envelope contained cash. Where did he get the envelope from? If he was just called to the scene, how would he even know to bring money? If the neighbor called him and just told him some people are outside fussing or fighting or whatever, there's a gun involved, how would he know to bring money? Because she said the neighbor didn't even know who the hell Diddy was. So he couldn't have said, hey, Diddy Combs or Sean Combs is out here with a gun. Okay, anyway, the neighbor offered to let plaintiff sleep on his couch until she could figure out a way to get her possessions and get home. But plaintiff declined, uneasy and unsure about the exchange with police and the neighbor and police, and only remained at the neighbor's residence for a short period of time once defendant Pelletier, posing as Contra Costa law enforcement, left. Now I want you all to pay attention. I want you all to pay attention because she's now saying that Pelletier, the defendant, was posing as Contra Costa law enforcement, like he wasn't really the police. She also talks about the neighbor being given money. Now, I don't recall that being in the initial lawsuit filing, that the neighbor received an envelope that she thought was money. It sounds to me that possibly what she's done in this amended filing is gone back and fixed some of the things that people were questioning, because I recall that when I read the first lawsuit, that I was asking the question as to why in the hell she said she didn't trust the neighbor. And she went back to the house where she was assaulted at. That made no sense to me, which is what made me think that it was a lie from Jump Street. Because I said, okay, she said she doesn't trust the neighbor because she doesn't know him. But this is a person who came out to see what was going on and who called law enforcement and who tried to help her and offered her help. You don't trust him, but you go back to the residence of the people who allegedly assaulted you. That made no sense. But now she's saying that the reason she didn't trust him is because the police gave him an envelope and she believes that the envelope contains money. Well, ma'am, I think you're lying. Because how, like I said, would the police have known, or the fake police, the one she said was posing as a police officer, how would he have known to bring money? Okay, this is all crazy. Above all that drama says, so Diddy's still out there with his ASS out smoking weed and glistening, covered in baby oil, high on Tucci. Okay, exactly. Measurement says a lot of weird stuff going on. Very much so. Very much so. Okay, so anyway, goes on to say, plaintiff then went back to defendant Shane's residence where she found the door open and her clothes were readily accessible in his residence. Defendant Shane then emerged as if nothing had transpired and offered for plaintiff to stay at his residence while she slept it off. Plaintiff asked for her purse and her keys, but defendant Shane told her she couldn't leave in her condition, and plaintiff, catatonic and in a state of shock and disbelief of the events that transpired, stayed at defendant Shane's home while defendant Shane left the home. Now she's going to say that he left the home to make it seem more plausible, in my opinion. This is all speculation on my behalf. But I believe that she's now acting as though he left the home to make it more plausible as to why she would stay there after he had assisted in what was done to her. She sounds crazy because you're going to stay in the house. You're going to trust the person who was involved in this, who set you up, who actually lured you to the residence to be assaulted and attacked in such a brutal fashion, ma'am. But you don't trust the neighbor who called the police to help you. Yeah, this all sounds crazy as hell. You know, Ariel Mitchell kid, I really think she's working for Diddy. I really think she's working for Diddy. How could she be so incompetent as to file these sorts of lawsuits otherwise? It's Brita, you said, why are they not revealing the cop's name? She said someone by the name of Pelletier was posing as a cop. Anyway, let me continue. Now, goes on to say that he told her she wasn't in that condition to leave. First of all, why would he care what kind of condition she was in after the police have shown up and they know what they've done? It would seem to me that he wanted her out of his house as quick as possible. And even if he didn't, why the hell would she stay there? This stuff is all just reeking of lies and BS. Later that morning, defendant Shane returned to the residence and woke plaintiff up and finally gave her her purse back, cell phone, and keys, and plaintiff left defendant's residence. In a daze, plaintiff returned home and tried to make sense out of what happened to her. And on March 26th of 2018, plaintiff contacted her primary care doctor and asked for an HIV and STD test in fear of possibly having contracted the disease from her violent grape. Plaintiff tried to continue her life as she felt she wouldn't be believed, as plaintiff already had told what she believed to the Contra Costa Sheriff's defendant. Contra Costa Sheriff's defendant Diddy raped her to no avail. Further, plaintiff was under the impression if she did continue to say defendant Diddy's name in relation to her assault, she would not be believed and her family would be in danger. Seemingly mere days, maybe even the day before plaintiff's vicious rape, defendant Shane had miraculously began driving a new car. Plaintiff believes this was payment by defendant Diddy for setting up plaintiff to be raped. Plaintiff went to the hospital where the hospital conducted several tests on plaintiff, including a grape kit, ultrasound, and x-rays. Additionally, plaintiff was given IV fluids to stabilize her vitals as she was in a severe weakened state from being unable to eat and losing substantial weight, a substantial amount of weight since the rape occurred. While at the hospital, plaintiff told members of her treatment team about her horrific assault, and then they contacted the Walnut Creek police. Walnut Creek police showed up to plaintiff's hospital room and took a statement regarding her assault. Plaintiff only told Walnut Creek about the assault from defendants Shane and Joe. Plaintiff believes her statements made to Walnut Creek police while at the hospital were captured by police body camera footage. Plaintiff further believes her statements made on March 23rd, immediately after the vicious assault, where plaintiff named defendant Diddy directly and by name, may be captured by body camera footage, but upon determining the sheriff was defendant Pelletier, does not believe it was captured as he was a co-conspirator. Now, how is she making any sense? She's double talking right here. Let me read this again for clarity. Plaintiff further believes her statements made on March 23rd, immediately after the vicious assault, where plaintiff named defendant Diddy directly and by name, may be captured by body camera footage, but upon determining the sheriff was defendant Pelletier, does not believe it was captured as he was a co-conspirator. Okay, so does she think it was captured or it wasn't? Okay, see how this makes no damn sense? Now this is starting to tick me off. Plaintiff filed a report to the Orinda Police Department on April the 17th of 2018, but was too afraid to name defendant Diddy as one of her assailants. During this report, plaintiff provided her clothing to the police from the night of the assault, but they only retained her underwear. Okay, to date, the underwear was never returned, and plaintiff believes no investigation ever commenced. Well, here's the thing. If she took a great test at the hospital, why didn't she give that to them, the results of that? Or have the hospital send it to them, whatever. Okay, plaintiff sought assistance from therapists in May of 2018, one of which tried to have her therapy appointments covered by a victim's compensation fund, which was rejected because plaintiff was told no law enforcement agency had opened an active investigation into any of her many reports of her violent gang rape. Subsequently, thereafter, plaintiff asked police for a copy of her report from the Walnut Creek Police Department. On July the 19th of 2018, plaintiff was provided a letter from the Walnut Creek Police Department stating that it was unable to furnish this information as it is confidential and not subject to public release. Despite plaintiff not being the public being the public and victim complaint. And the victim complaint. Hold on. Complainant. I'm sorry, being the victim complainant. Here's the thing. Where is that? That should be included in the lawsuit. If they sent her a letter or an email or any type of correspondence saying that they cannot send her the copy of the report because of confidentiality or whatever, then she should have proof of that, because she's saying that they sent her something. So where is the proof? Where is the proof? She asked police for a copy from the Walnut Creek police. Plaintiff was provided a letter. Where is the letter? Is the letter in this document? Let me see. Now, in March of 2024, plaintiff was re-traumatized by all of the events surrounding Diddy, defendant Diddy, including the several civil complaints filed against him, as well as the raid on defendant Diddy's California and Florida residences. Plaintiff called Contra Costa Sheriff again in the hopes of renewing her previous complaint and amending it to ensure defendant Diddy's name was included. Plaintiff received no response from the sheriff. Plaintiff in July of 2024 then emailed the chief of the sheriff's office regarding her complaint, lack of investigation, and how she was treated by the initial responding officer. Plaintiff then later received a call back from the detective, but then nothing further. Plaintiff then began seeking legal counsel for her claims, ultimately being referred to undersigned for representation. Undersigned counsel also attempted to get a copy of the 2018 police report from Contra Costa Sheriff's, but was told that they would not provide the report or any other information without a subpoena. Plaintiffs John and Jane Does are a mother and son. Plaintiffs were taken from their Las Vegas residence by defendant Pelletier as they walked to their vehicle. Defendant Pelletier put a gun to plaintiff John Doe's back and instructed him to get into a black SUV regarding extraditing plaintiffs for warrants in California. Okay, so this is the part where they're talking about plaintiffs John and Jane Does. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, goes on to say plaintiffs did not have any warrants nor convictions. Plaintiffs demanded to be shown the warrants, and defendant Pelletier refused and threatened to shoot plaintiffs if they protested further. In the back of the black SUV was defendant Valdez. Defendant was unknown to plaintiffs at the time. Defendant was dressed in black clothes and instructed plaintiffs not to look at him. Plaintiffs were then transported to what they believed was defendant Pelletier's residence at Blake Bay Street, Las Vegas. Plaintiffs were ordered inside and brought into the living room and forced to sit on the couch and were physically restrained. Plaintiffs demanded to speak to their attorney, which was refused, ignored, or met with threats of violence. It became obvious to plaintiffs that this was not a legal arrest and that Pelletier was acting outside of the color of law. At some point thereafter, plaintiffs were ordered back of a large black SUV. I guess she means ordered back to a large black SUV. Defendant Gonzalez was given the keys to plaintiff's vehicle, a SUV, to follow behind the SUV. Defendants Gonzalez and Pelletier had a list, which upon information and belief was a list of safe houses, which they could allow parties a safe respite undetected. Now, defendant Pelletier appeared to be in charge, and he and defendant Valdez were both giving out orders to the other co-conspirator defendants. Plaintiffs overhear repeated conversations in the vehicle while being kidnapped and transported about following protocol made by defendant Pelletier to others. Upon information and belief, this protocol was agreed upon codes, including the use of communication apps like WhatsApp and or Snapchat, satellite phones, and referring to other co-conspirators, conspirator defendants by their middle names. It was apparent to plaintiff this was a professional operation syndicate. Plaintiffs were then trafficked from Las Vegas, Nevada to various locations throughout California. How does she know all of this? How does she know all of this? I mean, this just pops up in the lawsuit. There's not really any, explanation for why this is all of a sudden being just thrown in here in the mix. The first location plaintiffs were able to identify was in Danville, California. And the convoy with the SUV plaintiffs were placed in also included plaintiff's SUV that was driven by defendant Gonzalez. Upon information and belief, defendant KK was in another SUV part of the convoy. Now, at some point, defendant Gonzalez complained he had trouble keeping up with the convoy of black SUVs because the SUV ran poorly. Plaintiffs alleged the convoy drive was for numerous hours, but the exact time was uncertain as they were unable to keep adequate track of time. The next location plaintiffs were taken among the safe houses on their route to an unknown destination was Blank Way, Danville, California, 94506. Plaintiffs heard some altercation with the owners of the home not wanting to be involved with defendant's scheme. Plaintiffs attempted to plead to the owners for help and could not understand why they wouldn't heed plaintiffs' cries for help. Plaintiff heard the owners speak a foreign language, which they believed was Farsi. Now, upon information and belief, this location was approximately 20 miles from the home in Orinda, where Plaintiff Parham was assaulted. During the transportation of plaintiffs across state lines, they were given water to drink, which plaintiffs believed were rugged with a D. Defendant Valdez would provide plaintiffs the water, which after drinking plaintiffs would feel slightly euphoric, dizzy, and then sick. Defendant Valdez would demand plaintiffs drink the water, but they refused or faked consumption. During the transportation, plaintiffs were forced to listen to a device with similar music to a device associated with defendant KK's nonprofit organization, Music Beats Hearts, in order to prevent plaintiffs from eavesdropping on the defendant's conversations. Okay, I guess this is the other people that were plaintiffs, the other John and Jane Does, I'm guessing. Now, saying this is pertaining to, I would imagine. Now, at certain times, the music stopped playing and plaintiff John Doe was able to get the earbuds partially out of one ear without defendants noticing to hear conversations about the plans they had for plaintiffs. Plaintiffs were then taken to another location at Blank Boulevard, El Cerrito, California, 94530. Plaintiffs were able to keep track of their location by remembering cross streets when they were finally let out of the vehicle for stops. At this location, plaintiffs observed an RV recreational vehicle arrived at the residence. During this stop is when plaintiffs noticed defendant KK was part of the convoy. Now, at this stop, plaintiffs overheard defendant KK being referred to as her code name, believed to be her middle name, Natasha. Okay, so now this whole thing seems to have taken on a bit of intrigue. Okay, now this whole thing seems to have taken on a bit of intrigue as now they're talking about code names and whatnot. Okay, this is given Quentin Tarantino's movie Reservoir Dogs. Remember when they were calling everybody by code names? Lord, this is all crazy. Measure Man said, exactly how does she have all of this information? Exactly. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Anyway, goes on to say at this stop, plaintiffs overheard defendant KK being referred to as her code name, believed to be her middle name, Natasha, discussing visiting the UC Berkeley campus as defendant seemed very familiar with the area and familiar with the city. Upon information and belief, this location was approximately 7 miles from the home in Orinda where plaintiffs were assaulted. Plaintiffs were then taken to another location at the Beacon Grand Hotel of Sir Francis Drake. Okay, defendant Shane worked at the hotel as a manager. Plaintiffs were taken into the hotel through what appeared to be the side entrance by defendants Valdez, Pelletier, and Gonzalez. Defendant Pelletier told the co-conspirator defendants he would stay at a different hotel nearby so it wouldn't be linked to him. Once inside the hotel room, plaintiffs were beaten and rugged with a D by defendants Valdez and Gonzalez. Plaintiffs pleaded with Valdez and Gonzalez to be released and for mercy. Defendants Valdez and Gonzalez instructed plaintiffs to sign paperwork at gunpoint. When plaintiffs refused, defendant Gonzalez would pistol whip plaintiffs on the backs of their heads. So this is all in the families. Y'all hear this? Do y'all hear this? I mean, we're talking about the level of intrigue is astounding. Okay, we're talking about code names. We're talking about fake police officers, hidden reports. I mean, we're talking. DJ Big Six said this needs some 007 theme music. Okay. You ain't never lied, beloved. This is all nefarious, honey. I absolutely cannot. I absolutely cannot. Okay, but now I want you to pay attention because let's not forget that Odell Beckham. Okay, that she said Odell Beckham was involved in this. Okay, she said that Druski wasn't involved in this. She didn't put Jaguar Wright's name in this. Okay, I just want y'all to pay attention. It's all so nefarious. All so crazy. But let's continue. So goes on to say, pistol whipping on the back of their heads, no less. Defendant Gonzalez eventually gave plaintiffs a drink, which caused them to pass out. Plaintiffs spent the night at the hotel with defendants Gonzalez and Valdez, taking turns watching them. How do they know? The next morning, plaintiffs were restrained and bound by their hands in front and were placed in a vehicle. Plaintiffs then saw defendants Jaguar and Helena. Upon information and belief, defendants Jaguar and Helena were in a small sedan, light color, white or beige. Plaintiffs were then transported to the location of Plaintiff Parham's brutal assault on Loma Vista Drive by defendants Jaguar and Helena. Defendant Helena was the driver and defendant Jaguar was the passenger. Defendant Helena warned plaintiffs if they tried to escape or run that she would have to shoot you. This is all crazy, honey. All right, do y'all hear it? It all sounds like it's straight out of Scarface, honey. Defendant Helena also warned plaintiffs not to throw up in her vehicle, saying, you better not throw up in my car. Okay, you better not throw up in my car or get sick. Defendant Helena mentioned having two partners as backup who were bounty hunters. Plaintiffs were familiar with defendant Helena as she had filed a lawsuit against superstar singer Michael Jackson in 2005 and filed a creditor's claim against the Jackson estate upon his untimely demise in 2009. Now, plaintiffs were familiar with defendant Helena from her previous Michael Jackson lawsuits and had, this is all crazy as hell, y'all, and had previously met with defendant at her home in West Hollywood to determine the credibility of her claims and if they were similar in nature to plaintiffs. Plaintiff had reported defendant Helena. I am so done. Hold on, you all. Gosh darn it. Hold on. I messed around and scrolled up too far. Hold on. Damn it. Hold on, beloveds. Let me find my place. Okay, here we go. Okay, so anyway, it goes on to say, plaintiffs were familiar with Helena, defendant Helena, from her previous Michael Jackson lawsuits and had previously met with the defendant at her home in West Hollywood to determine her credibility for her claims and if they were similar in nature to plaintiffs. Plaintiffs had reported defendant Helena multiple times to the LA and OC FBI field offices for her role in the crime syndicate with defendants Pelletier and Valdez and other individuals. Pay attention to how they keep using the words, are referring to the operation as crime syndicate. Okay, that's because it's Diddy sued or Diddy's in jail for RICO. Now, plaintiffs attempted to make conversation with defendant Helena in which she admitted she was the same person who plaintiffs had met with previously. Why would she tell them that? If she's involved in something illegal that's going on with them, why would they tell her her identity? I mean, why would she tell them her identity? Like, that don't even make sense. Defendant Jaguar, aggravated, stated, you let them know who you are? That's really great. Okay, yeah, because why would you? That don't even make no sense. Plaintiffs noticed defendants had large brown bags and manila envelopes full of cash that was banded. It appeared they were separating the large sums of cash to distribute as they were placing cash into manila envelopes. Defendant Jaguar discussed with defendant Helena how the party started the first Black-owned network. Upon information and belief, plaintiffs believe that network to be Revolt TV. Defendant Jaguar and defendant Helena discussed the other co-conspirators, but referred to them by their middle names: Natasha, defendant KK, Pedro, defendant Gonzalez, and Lyra, defendant Valdez, Cornelius, defendant Odell, and Larry, shortened for Lawrence, defendant Pelletier. Now, when defendant Jaguar said Cornelius is upset, defendant Helena is upset. Defendant Helena, who said that defendants Odell and Druski were her clients and nothing better happened to them, and plaintiff better not say anything about them or she would have plaintiffs killed. What? When defendant Jaguar said Cornelius is upset, when defendant Jaguar said Cornelius, it upset defendant Helena. Okay, so she supposedly got mad because Jaguar said Cornelius's name. Okay, yeah, right. But after Jaguar also supposedly asked her, oh, you told them who you were? You let them know who you were? Like, this doesn't even make any sense. Please pay attention. It's all lies as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe a word of it. Okay, who said that defendants Odell and Druski were her clients and nothing better happened to them? And plaintiffs better not say anything about them or she will have plaintiffs killed. Defendant Jaguar then told plaintiffs they were being taken to meet John. Plaintiffs now know that was referring to defendant Diddy. Well, why would they be calling Diddy John? That's his code name. Now, when defendants arrived with plaintiffs at the Loma Vista location, it appeared as they were waiting and coordinating from others to arrive. A large sedan arrived and plaintiffs were placed in the back with defendant Valdez. Defendant Pelletier was driving. Plaintiffs then arrived at a short driveway, a curb. Plaintiff remembers looking for interesting or intersecting street sign at this location and found blank, a dead-end street off of Loma Vista Drive. Plaintiff John Doe repeated the name of the street to himself so he remembered and was able to whisper into Jane Doe's ear to remember the intersecting street name, blank. Plaintiffs believe this was the home they would be murdered in and tried to devise a plan for escape. Do y'all hear this? I mean, this is all so damn crazy. Okay, Josh says, when it comes to visit their neighborhoods, y'all better be with me. This is all crazy. And then DJ Big Six said this has some oddly specific details. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But that's all probably, in my opinion, to make it sound even more plausible. Okay, naming little tidbits of information that would seem otherwise insignificant would be a way to make your story appear more credible and to appear more plausible. Okay, Aubrey said that attorney and her clients need to check themselves in and say I'm here. Okay. Latasha says Alley Cat ain't tell us this, queen. Not Alley Cat. Oh my goodness, this is all crazy. Okay, Ash Lewis says, I'm hollering at the caption. Remember, Druski and P. Diddy walked in on him and he started spitting and fumbling and scraping. Oh, this is all a hot mess. But let's continue. So then it goes on to say, they tried to devise a plan to escape, honey, for fear of being red-wronged, aka murdered. Plaintiffs were brought into the house and into the kitchen where they were watched by defendant Gonzalez. Plaintiffs repeated their pleas to defendant Gonzalez to be released and for mercy, which he replied, there's nothing he can do. Plaintiffs could hear other people inside the home and tried to listen to understand what was happening, which included a woman's scream. First of all, this all sounds like some BS, and if this was even true at all, how did they escape and live to tell this nefarious story? Okay, eventually plaintiffs were led deeper into the home where they encountered more individuals, including defendant Diddy. Plaintiffs observed several individuals gathered around a bed while defendants Gonzalez and Valdez stood outer guard. Plaintiffs observed defendants Jaguar and Helena enter the residence. Defendant Jaguar told plaintiffs, he wants something you have. If I were you, I'd figure out what it is really fast. The he defendant was referring to is believed to be defendant Diddy. Shortly after defendant Druski appeared wearing a vest and shorts and he engaged in conversation with plaintiffs, defendants tried to appeal to defendant by talking about the music industry, and defendant instructed plaintiffs that they should cooperate. Plaintiffs described what they observed during the assault of plaintiff Parham after this interaction with defendant Druski. Plaintiffs observed plaintiff Parham using an IUD forcefully placed in her the JJ by defendants KK with the assistance of defendant Brandy. Plaintiffs heard defendant KK make a remark about how plaintiff Jane Doe would not need an IUD because of her age. While hearing plaintiff Parham scream in agony during the forced IUD insertion, plaintiff Jane Doe yelled, "Stop hurting her." Plaintiffs observed defendant Shane place a pillow over plaintiff Parham's face, suffocating her, and plaintiff Jane Doe yelled for them to stop or that she would die. Plaintiff Jane Doe believes plaintiff Parham did lose consciousness because she became limp and unresponsive. Defendant Diddy instructed defendant Valdez to shut her up, and defendant Valdez hit Jane Doe with the handle of his firearm. Plaintiff Jane Doe or John Doe witnessed plaintiff Parham being assaulted by the remote, and when he tried to say something, plaintiff was told to shut up or they would put the remote in him next. All of these are new details, honey. I just want you all to pay attention. Now, why wasn't any of this in the previous filing? Plaintiff John Doe believes he heard defendant Jaguar make remarks, "Put the remote in her. She's going to learn today." And telling plaintiff Parham, that she was going to make it worse. Are y'all hearing this bullshit? Nicole says, do anyone think people got paid to participate in this movie? Seems the Diddy frivolous lawsuits are the new way to make money off movie scripts. Exactly, beloved. It all sounds so crazy and nefarious and salacious, okay? This is just, like I said, I believe Ariel Mitchell Kidd is working for Diddy. I absolutely believe that she is. I think she's working for Diddy, putting out these fake frivolous lawsuits, and Diddy has probably paid her well to do so. That's my opinion. Now, I can't substantiate it. Okay, so anyway, claims that Jaguar told her she's going to make it worse. Plaintiffs believe the remote assault was to punish plaintiff Parham for the IUD failure. Plaintiffs heard defendant KK remark to defendants Diddy and Druski that she needed to keep them sufficiently rugged with a D and revealed a bag full of rugs with a D and paraphernalia. Defendant KK appeared to be dispersing doses to defendants, asking them their weights to administer the proper amount. At some point, plaintiff John Doe was taken to the bedroom. While in the bathroom, he believed there may have been other tenants and began to bang on the walls, hoping someone would hear him. But the only person who heard him was defendants Valdez and Gonzalez, who were outside keeping watch. Upon plaintiff John Doe's return, he saw defendant Odell. Plaintiff John Doe took immediate notice of defendant Odell because when he took his clothes off, plaintiff remembers defendant being in great shape, especially in comparison to the naked bodies of defendants Diddy and Druski. So mind you, you're being trafficked, you're being kidnapped, you're being pistol whipped on the back of your head, no less. But yet you have the wherewithal to notice that Odell Beckham has a much nicer, much better sculpted physique than Diddy and Druski. Who is thinking about such things at this moment? This is all crazy as hell, but let me continue. Plaintiff John Doe overheard defendant Diddy and Odell discussing business and the plan to have plaintiff Parham return to New York with defendant Odell. Plaintiff John Doe could not readily observe where plaintiff Jane Doe was during this time. While during this time, where plaintiff Jane Doe was out of sight of plaintiff John Doe, plaintiff Jane Doe was being assaulted by defendant Valdez in another room. Plaintiff John Doe witnessed the gang rape of plaintiff Parham. Now, plaintiff Jane Doe witnessed the gang rape of plaintiff Parham. John Doe witnessed defendant Druski douse plaintiff Parham in baby oil and then jumped and slid across her body. Plaintiff John Doe observed defendants Diddy and Druski maniacally and hysterically laughing, while plaintiff attributed to their rug with a D use. Defendant Diddy then attempted to force plaintiff John Doe to assault plaintiff Parham, and he refused. Defendant Diddy instructed defendant co-conspirators to throw plaintiff John Doe into the wall several times in order to get him to comply with his demand to rape plaintiff Parham, which he would not comply. Defendant Diddy instructed defendant co-conspirators to yank, grab, and pull on plaintiff John Doe's oh Lord, privates violently in an effort to punish him for not participating in the gang rape of plaintiff Parham. Plaintiff John Doe remembers defendant Big Homie CC saying he was going to look for pliers to use to further torture plaintiff. Plaintiff John Doe believes defendant Diddy wanted plaintiff to grade plaintiff Parham so they could frame him in the event plaintiff Parham reported her assaults. In an effort to get DNA from plaintiff John Doe to place on plaintiff Parham, defendant Diddy had one of the defendant co-conspirators orally copulate plaintiff John Doe to get bodily fluids from him, but it failed. And y'all know what bodily fluids we're talking about. Plaintiff Jane Doe observed defendant KK return to the room to check on plaintiff Parham and provided her an IV, telling her to breathe deeply. Plaintiff John Doe watched plaintiff Parham lose consciousness. This is all crazy as hell, y'all. But let me just keep going, honey. At some point, plaintiff Jane Doe returns after defendants Diddy, Shane, Druski, Odell, KK, and others leave the room and retire to either the backyard or to the upstairs patio. Plaintiffs were left alone and unattended with an unconscious plaintiff, Parham. Plaintiffs were crying after observing the assault upon plaintiff Parham and began to realize this was their next chance to devise a plan for escape. Plaintiffs began looking for weapons and exit points to make their escape. Plaintiffs could not find any phones or any weapons like knives in the kitchen, as it appeared all the cutlery and silverware had been removed from the home. But didn't plaintiff say she had a knife at some point? Well, I guess they were in a different residence. But anyway, plaintiffs were trying to act quickly while the defendants left them unattended and were outside smoking, drinking, and loudly laughing as if having a party. Plaintiffs observed others outside believed to be the defendant Diddy's sons, Christian and Quincy. Plaintiffs observed them roughhousing and practicing layup basketball moves. Plaintiff heard defendant Diddy tell his sons to watch the gate and make sure no one left. Plaintiffs observed defendant Gonzalez outside the front door, where the front door was barricaded by yellow crime scene-like tape. The door lock was unusual because it was facing backward, needing the key to exit. Fearing no way to escape, plaintiff Jane Doe mentioned to plaintiff John Doe that she overheard them say, "Put it on top of the refrigerator," and instructed plaintiff John Doe to check to see if there was anything on top of the refrigerator. Plaintiff John Doe found a knife on top of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Plaintiff then heard ramblings from the room plaintiff Parham was in and went in to check on her and to stop her from making too much noise that could thwart their escape plan. Plaintiffs told plaintiff Parham they weren't going to hurt her and that they were there to help. Plaintiff Parham was just now coming into consciousness and being horrifically gang raped, was upset, terrified, and unsure if plaintiffs were trying to help or were also co-conspirators. Plaintiffs eventually were able to get plaintiff Parham to calm down and listen to her escape plan, or listen to their escape plan. Plaintiffs told Parham they could not find an exit to escape and needed her to help escape. Otherwise, they would all be killed. They would all be killed. Lord have mercy. This is so damn crazy. Y'all, are y'all buying any of this? Lord have mercy. This sounds far-fetched. Plaintiff Parham, after experiencing her ordeal with defendants, believed plaintiffs and agreed to help in an escape. This is starting to sound like prison breakout, y'all. I absolutely cannot. So a prison break. Wasn't that the name of that show? Now, plaintiff Parham then exited the home with a knife concealed to the backyard. Shortly thereafter, defendant KK returned and took plaintiff Jane Doe to the balcony, leaving plaintiff John Doe alone in the residence. Plaintiffs believed defendant KK did not check the residence because she believed plaintiff Parham was still unconscious. Now, this is just all crazy as hell. I'm sorry. This is all crazy. Hold on, beloveds. Okay, so anyway, goes on to say Hold on, I lost my place for a second. Okay. Anyway, so shortly thereafter, defendant KK returned and took plaintiff Jane Doe to the balcony, leaving plaintiff John Doe alone in the residence. Plaintiffs believe that defendant KK did not check the residence because she believed plaintiff Parham was still unconscious. Now, while on the balcony, defendant KK demanded plaintiff Jane Doe sign documents. When plaintiff refused, defendant yelled to at least two Doe bodyguards. Plaintiff would not sign and asked them to assist. Plaintiffs believe the documents were related to creditors' claims plaintiffs had against the Michael Jackson estate. Honey, they got Michael Jackson involved in this foolishness? What is this even about? During this interaction, parties hear a gunshot, which causes everyone to run towards the backyard where the shot came from. First of all, this is how you know they're lying, okay? I want you all to pay attention. This is how you know this is lies and BS, because they say during this interaction, parties hear a gunshot, which causes everyone to run towards the backyard where the shot came from. Who the hell's running towards the shots? Especially if it's any black people involved. Who's running towards gunshots? Okay. Said everybody ran towards the gunshots. Okay, anyway. Plaintiff John Doe, who was left alone and unattended, was able to reach the stairs where he saw plaintiff Parham with a knife, looking as if she was about to stab defendant Diddy, and he yelled out, "Do it, stab it." But he saw plaintiff Parham hesitate. Oh my Lord. Queen Sam said, I told y'all they were going to somehow get Michael and Prince involved. Honey, this is all crazy. Okay. This is all so crazy. Laverne said, messed up movie drama. Okay. Honey. Aquarius MC said, shaking my head, gunshots part. Okay. Talking about they ran towards the gunshots. Bookhorse DC said, break camp, walking dead. Okay. This is all ridiculous, but let's continue. So goes on to say, so anyway, plaintiff John Doe observed defendant Diddy push plaintiff Parham down at the bottom of the stairs, and plaintiff John Doe believes he assisted her up. Plaintiffs were briefly then reunited, and plaintiff John Doe told plaintiff Jane Doe now was their opportunity to escape. Following plaintiff Parham, plaintiffs ran out of the back gate onto the street and in the opposite direction of plaintiff Parham. Plaintiffs arrived at the house next door to the residence and banged on the door and yelled for help. The wife came out and said that she and her husband couldn't help. Plaintiffs found the exchange bizarre and could not understand why they would not help or call 911. Plaintiffs were able to then try to hide until they saw an officer report to the location, where they attempted to speak with the officer. Before plaintiffs were able to speak to the local officer, defendant Pelletier appeared and obstructed plaintiffs from speaking to the responding officer, telling the responding officer a federal investigation was ongoing and not to interfere. Defendant Pelletier told the officer to turn off his body camera. Defendant Pelletier told the officer he was working on a case for rug trafficking and had the house under surveillance and would report later to the local precinct. Now, here's something that sounds inconsistent to what was previously stated. Now she says that Pelletier told the officer to turn off his body cam. But in another part of the filing, she specifically said that it may have been on body cam footage. And then she said that Pelletier was posing as a police officer. Los Contra police officer, or whatever the department was. She said he was posing. So now they're saying he told somebody to turn off their body cam. Okay, whatever. Defendant Pelletier referred to plaintiffs and plaintiff Parham as suspects and said they were homeless. When plaintiffs tried to refute these statements by defendant Pelletier, they were threatened and told to shut up and remain quiet. Defendant Gonzalez then transports and removes plaintiffs from the interaction with defendant Pelletier and the responding officer. Defendant Gonzalez placed plaintiffs in another vehicle, which was hard to see due to the darkness. Plaintiff Jane Doe pleaded with defendant Gonzalez to let them go and that she would not tell. In a last-ditch effort, plaintiff told defendant she overheard defendants Jaguar and Helena say they were not going to pay him and that there was not enough money for him. So now she's causing division amongst the crooks. Like, this is all so damn crazy. And so they didn't have enough money for him, huh? Unbeknownst to plaintiffs, defendants Jaguar and Helena were in a nearby vehicle. Defendant Gonzalez exited the vehicle and went to the vehicle with defendants Jaguar and Helena and confronted them about what plaintiff Jane Doe said. Defendant Gonzalez returned to the vehicle where plaintiffs were being held, seemingly confirming what plaintiff Jane Doe said because plaintiffs heard him use the Spanish term mayate, which is often used as a slur towards Black people. Defendant Gonzalez then walked plaintiffs to a nearby street where the SUV was parked and gave plaintiffs the key to the vehicle and released them. Plaintiffs then arrived at Blank, the main road that leads to I-24 freeway and asked another commuter, the nearest police station, as plaintiffs did not have any phones and their vehicle did not have GPS. They were given instructions, they were close, and how to proceed to the police station. Plaintiffs arrived at the police station on 22 Orinda Way, Orinda, California, 94563. Plaintiff John Doe walked into the police station with an intention of filing a police report, but remembered overhearing a conversation from the defendants during their transport when defendants believed he could not hear them, that if plaintiffs ever reported the incident, they would be deemed crazy and non-believable. Plaintiff John Doe was also concerned about the exchange with the responding officer on the scene and how he refused to listen to his pleas then. Plaintiff John Doe then only briefly spoke to someone at the front desk about filing a report and took a business card. Plaintiffs incorporate by reference and reallege all of the preceding paragraphs and all paragraphs below as though fully set forth and brought in this course of action. Defendants, as well as others known and unknown as are the persons within the meaning of 18 USC statute 1961-3, who conducted the affairs of the Diddy sexual abuse and cover-up enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity in violation of 18 USC statute 1962C. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there, you guys. This is all nefarious as far as I can see. And saying that Druski, saying that Odell Beckham Jr., and saying that Jaguar all had a hand in this BS. Now, I'm telling you that I don't know if this is true or not, but I damn sure don't believe it. The story reeks of BS, literally and figuratively, as far as I'm concerned. It just all sounds crazy. And it seems to me like maybe, because I'm like, where did she get these random people? Jaguar, Odell, Druski. Well, maybe she decided that she was going to attack people with blonde hair. Maybe she decided she'd go in on Black people with blonde hair, honey. I don't know. The Jaguar even got a little blonde in her braids. Druski and Odell. And this is all crazy. I don't know the rhyme or reason. But what I do know is I don't believe a single word of it. Okay? I don't believe a single word of it. It sounds far-fetched and clearly fabricated. And as I've said before a myriad of times, if Ariel Mitchell Kidd is involved in a lawsuit, we should all think twice, okay? And look with a whole side eye. It's all I'm saying. Okay? Crystal M said, this sounds like a TV show. I am loving your commentary while I retwist my locks. Thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. Honey, it's time for me to retwist my locks too, okay, which I need to do in a few days. Okay, so anyway, honey, listen. Phoenix Culpepper said, sounds like a Tyler Perry play. It does. All right. And then Andrew said, no one runs toward gunshots. Exactly. especially not people who look like me, honey. That's the last thing we're going to do. And in fact, people who look like me, we don't even have to know why you're running. All we need to do is see you running, and we're going to run too. We'll find out why you're running and get the specifics after we get to our destination, which is away from the trouble. Okay, this is all crazy. All right, anyway, honey, this is another epic fail. They're going to mess around and get Diddy out. Diddy is going to waltz up out of that, honey. Let me tell y'all something. Diddy's going to waltz up out of that courtroom. The most they're going to get Diddy on, in my opinion, is the guns charges with those defaced guns with the no serial numbers or whatever, and the illegal substances or whatever. But at the end of the day, this is all sounding real crazy. How is he going to get a fair trial? Like, he's likely going to get off due to some technicality, or because, I mean, even a change of venue at this point, like I told you guys last week, even a change of venue at this point won't suffice. Because quite frankly, this is a global story. It's made international headlines. Everyone's been talking about it for over a year now, well over a year. And more nefarious lawsuits continue to arise, okay, daily. Every week there's new lawsuits being filed. Okay, mind you, those are civil, which shouldn't have anything to do with the criminal. But mind you, the fact that some of these civil lawsuits have all these lies in them that we've pointed out, okay, and some of these accusers clearly are not telling the truth. This is all going to be used by Diddy's defense team to try to get a mistrial and say, hey, this jury cannot be non-biased. This jury cannot, you know, they have to have heard all of these things that are going on. Their minds have probably already been filled with the lies and deceit. So how can he? I just want y'all to pay attention, honey. All right? It's all crazy. With that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. Please like and share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. And also, beloveds, please double check to make sure you're still subscribed, honey. Especially those of you who are new members, new subscribers, I implore you to please, please, please double check to make sure that you're still subscribed, okay? Because they unsubscribe people literally every day. And that's just a fact. All right, so with that all being said, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy this Monday. Okay, and remember that crazy killer, the teenager I told you about last week on Friday, who shot up the school? This one right here, Brenda Spencer, because she said she don't like Mondays. Imagine her getting out on bail, on parole. Imagine her getting out on parole. Okay, and she don't like Mondays. And I quite frankly think that's where Prince wrote that song. Why Prince wrote that song, Just Another Manic Monday for the Bengals. I bet you that's why Prince wrote that song. Okay, Just Another Manic Monday. Okay, please pay attention. Because she's clearly manic, or was manic at the time. All right, allegedly. So anyway, you all enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. That's See right. A bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin? God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen. Why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got